Hi, everyone, and welcome to Café IBTTA. I'm Pat Jones. My guest today is Christoph Bhutan, Executive Director of ASFA, the French Association of Toll Motorway Companies. Christoph started his career as a consultant at the Boston Consulting Group. Later, he joined the highway sector in 2004, first at Société des Autoroutes Paris-Normandie, SAPN, as Director of Construction and Sustainable Development, and then in charge of the concession contracts at SANEF. In 2011, he joined ASFA as Deputy to the Managing Director. Christoph participates in work groups of several road associations, including URF, UNSPIC, E3PO, IDRRIM, and PRC, the World Road Association. Christoph also served as president of ASICAP, the European Association of Toll Motorway Concessionaires, in 2019 through 2020. Christoph, welcome to Café IBTTA. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Pat. And yeah, it's great to be here. I'm just freshly back from my summer holidays, so it's a very important moment for us in Europe, as you know. And by the way, it's great for our industry as well, because that is a very important time for traffic on our highways during summer.
Yes, indeed. Well, welcome back from your holiday. You look very fresh and relaxed. It's great to have a holiday to get re-energized. Well, this is Café IBTTA, where we drink coffee and talk about things that are interesting, relevant, uplifting, and fun. And first of all, I have a shout out to Jake Barron. Jake Barron is IBTTA's newest member of the staff. He's our Director of Content Development, who started last week. Before IBTTA, Jake worked for the American Gas Association and the Plastics Industry Association, and we're excited to have him as part of the team. And just as a reminder, IBTTA has instituted a vaccine requirement for the annual meeting in Anaheim and our maintenance workshop in Louisville. You can review the requirement and a vaccine FAQ on the annual meeting landing page on our website. So who's coming to Anaheim? Well, I'm glad you asked. There's a list of registered organizations planning to attend on the Anaheim event page. You can check it out there and see all the different organizations that are already planning to come. Well, we are taking your questions and comments, and we want to get started right away. Our guest, Christoph, is from France, so therefore, we would invite you to type a word or phrase that expresses your thoughts or feelings about France. All right? Tell us how you feel about France, and use the selection everyone or all panelists and attendees. All right. Good. We're getting some people putting their responses in French, so that's always good, huh? All right. Some of the best wines, right? C'est magnifique. I'll let you say some of these things here, Christoph. French, romantic wine, architecture. Merci, huh? Cannes during the film festival. All right, food, nice motorways. There you go, Christoph. People appreciate that.
Good.
All right, wonderful. Wow, I think this is probably some of the best response we've ever gotten to an introductory question for one of our guests. So that's wonderful.
Good to know that people haven't forgotten France.
Yes, they're very fond of. Isn't France the biggest tourist destination in the world?
Well, Spain and France are definitely a big attractive tourist destination, but probably for people coming from the US, France might be number one. Yeah.
Number one. All right. Well, let's get started. And Christoph, starting from the beginning, as we do, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your early professional career, and how you came to be interested in transportation.
Well, I grew up in a little city which is called Poitiers. Poitiers is halfway between Paris and Bordeaux. It's somehow in the middle of France. not a very well-known city abroad, but a very quiet place and with a huge university, so a nice place to live in. Interestingly, also, it's a place which is connected to the rest of the country thanks to highways on the high-speed train. But when you live there, you learn very quickly that the importance of a highway to connect people is very high. So that was a good training to start with. I was trained then as an engineer generally, and I was attracted in the way our works, our deeds, are shaping our surroundings, how it affects the life of people in the country, and how little things in the way you manage a project are affecting the way people are living. The little things, I believe, may have great consequences. So it's very important to take pay attention to details when you're leading projects that will affect the lives of people after that. So that was, of course, a very ambitious target to start with. So I took initially a step a little less ambitious, becoming a consultant, which was also for me, frankly, an opportunity to polish my training, you know, to get a little practice before choosing an expertise field after academic years. So I did it at BCG for 3 years. That was a very interesting period. And then I was very lucky to find the opportunity to join the SAPN, the Normandy Highway Company, as you said, to lead the construction projects for that company that were affecting the highway in Normandy. It's a very interesting challenge to start with.
Christophe, you mentioned starting your career as a consultant with BCG, and I was looking at their website recently. They have a statement that says, "Our diverse global teams are passionate about unlocking potential and making change happen." That's a very powerful statement and mission, unlocking potential and making change happen. Are there some lessons you learned early in your career that you've carried with you to the present day?
Yes, I believe first that when you're working in such a firm, you really understand the importance of teamwork, the importance of enabling people to deliver the best they can for the job. Because when you're working for a consulting firm such as BCG, the only asset is the staff. You don't have anything else but the staff. So that is pretty obvious. But I believe it's true also for any other corporate. Even in highway companies, which are big infrastructure companies, where the asset, of course, might be very important with the civil engineering. But the truth is that when you look into it, the staff is the most important asset all the time. So that was the first lesson. Another very important lesson is that I learned is that if you want things to move, if you want innovation to happen, you have to formulate ideas by yourself. You have to say what you want, say what you're creating, and tell it whatever the definition of your idea is. It doesn't really matter that you're right or not. When you say things, when you tell your ideas, people will then react, and from that confrontation, then innovation might spark. So that's a very important lesson. You never have to wait for people to produce their ideas or to give you ideas. You do it yourself, and then with the teamwork, work with the other people, then you may spark innovation.
It almost sounds a little bit like that adage, it's easier to edit than to create. If you're not getting input from others about ideas, you put some ideas forth, and that will encourage people to respond.
Exactly. Because not a lot of people do that. And if you wait for them to do it, it will never happen. If you do it, you will be wrong, but you have to assume that it's not very important, and then things will correct by themselves.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about tolling in France and the concept of the concession model. We seem to have the same challenge all over the world, and that is helping people understand what tolling is, why it's needed, and what a concession is. Would you tell us about about these issues and the challenges you face educating the French people about toll motorways and concessions?
Yeah, it's a really a very difficult challenge, as you said. One way to see it is to consider concession as a procurement method. You don't pay directly for your contractor, you let it get tolls from users and get paid this way. Another way, also very important, is to consider that it's a contract where you transfer all of the risk to the contractor. On these things, you have to remind them to the public, because people will think that your industry carries no risk, that tolls is just a tax. And no, it's not at all the case. We do carry a lot of risk, and tolls is not a tax. Toll is what pays for the infrastructure. So you have to remind them of the user pay principle all the time. And as for risk, still today, people will say that we carry none. And when you look at figures, it tells a different truth, because with the 2008 crisis, and with, of course, the current crisis of COVID, we consider that we lost about 1 year of traffic compared to the business plans that were made for the privatization of the highways in 2005. So 1 year of traffic in less than 20 years. That's a lot of difference between what we have expected and what the reality was. So the risk is real, and you have to remind that to all the public to get it accepted. But that's not a very easy task, as you may know.
So, Christophe, we are taking questions, and I see that we have a question from a good friend of both of ours, Malika Sethi, who is the Secretary General of ASICAP, and I understand in your office today. So.
Yeah.
She asks about climate change, and are there priority mobility plans foreseen for addressing and targeting climate change?
Yes, indeed they are, because if you look at the figures, which is always very important for an engineer, in France, transportation is the main source of carbon emission. As you know, our electricity is produced mainly from nuclear power plants, so it's not carbonized. But transportation is a lot. And if you look at figures, our highways carries traffic that is responsible for 6% of carbon emissions for France. 6% only on our highways. So it's a very high figures, I believe. So if you want to fight climate change, you have to look at that thing and to create the conditions that will enable people to go for decarbonized mobility. And it's very important on our highway because we have an interurban network. We are connecting cities, and people using our highways may do it for quite long journeys. And of course, that means that they have to face the autonomy challenge of their vehicles. And today, people are not willing to buy electric cars, mainly because they feel that they won't be able to complete the journey without having problems charging their vehicles. So our industry has to create the condition that will secure our users to buy cars that will be able to run on our motorway. And it's not very easy, because if you look at things, traffic is not even on our highways. During a typical month, you will have, for instance, 10,000 vehicles using per day a given highway. And for summertime, it will maybe be 5 times that figures. So if you have to build the infrastructure to charge those vehicles, economics will tell you to do it for the normal day, but user service will tell you to do it for the most congested day. So it's a very difficult challenge to answer.
This challenge of climate change, sustainability, and resilience, it's a huge challenge and issue for all of us. And as you know, IBTTA has a task force on sustainability and resilience, in which we're trying to sort of educate people, raise the level of discussion and debate in our industry about these issues. And I appreciate everything that you're doing to advance that as well. Christoph, let's talk for a moment about safety. We speak a lot about safety in these conversations on Café IBTTA, and you and your association ASFA have taken a special interest in safety and are using the positive story of safety on the French motorways to raise the image of tolling in France. Tell us more about that.
Yes, you're right. We all know that road safety is very high on the highways. Those infrastructure are safe by design, that's obvious. But we knew it. We knew that our customers knew it, but that was not very well told, and the media were not looking at it, actually. So there was something missing there. And traditionally at ASFA, we would speak with media on only one opportunity. It was on February 1st every year when tariffs are increasing. So of course, you can guess that it's not a very, very convenient moment to tell positive things about highways. It's more a defensive moment than a positive moment. So what we did is try to create the condition to get another opportunity to speak. And as you know, for summer vacation, a lot of people take their car to go to their holiday destination. And then the media is focusing on how this journey is going, what they will meet, how the traffic is going, and everything like that. So we find that it was probably a good moment to interest the media about our industry. And what we did to get that attention is to try to get the figures that will raise the interest of media in our industry. And we did that with the figures we were managing at ASFA. We realized that we were almost the only one doing that job. You know, every month we analyze every fatal incident happening on networks. We try to find why, and we also have statistics that go all over the years, showing that, of course, security is increasing year after year on our network. And no one else is really doing that job with such precision and on such a regular basis. So that turns out to be a very precious asset in our discussion with media, because we were very legitimate to use those figures, and also those figures were not known. So what we did is we tried to approach a few very influent newspapers with that study, and to tell them that they would be the only one with these new figures, and that was a kind of a scoop. So
an exclusive.
An exclusive, of course. And it works very well, because when you do that, all the others, they always want to get the news after the first one. So you have to tease a little bit, and then all the media calls you to get an interview with you. And every year now, we have the opportunity in the month of July to speak on national TV, or to speak on national radio, to speak in the newspapers, to tell about our figures of safety. And of course, we take that opportunity to tell about the services that people will meet on the motorway, to tell them also how to drive on our motorway, to give them security advice. So it's a good opportunity to have a positive moments with the media.
Yeah, and you have such an impressive story to tell, because based on the data that you have, you can demonstrate that the accident rate or the fatality rate on the motorways, on the concession motorways in France, is a fraction of what it is on other roads in the country.
Yeah, we consider that it's 5 times safer to drive on motorways than on the other road of the country. And that's a very important argument when you tell people that tolling is also a tool for their safety.
Our guest today is Christoph Bhutan. He is the executive director of ASFA, the French Association of Toll Motorway Operators. And we are taking your questions in the chat. And we have a question about visitors to France and wondering how do the French toll roads handle payment from international visitors like Americans. And this person writes, I think the toll roads require a credit card with a chip and a PIN number. So many American tourists may not have that. So how do you handle tolls from international visitors?
No, we accept most major credit cards. We had in the past some occurrence where credit cards for some very specific countries were not accepted because that we knew that they were subject to fraud from mafia somewhere.
Yes.
But most credit cards are accepted, and you don't need to pin your code on our way. That would be too long at toll plaza. And from the beginning, we don't do that. So we are able to read the magnetic part of the card. It's better if you have a chip and know what is, of course, widely accepted is the contactless payment with the card. This is something which was existing before in Europe, but which has really taken off with COVID because people were not willing to touch the different payment terminals, and they started to realize that it was very easy just to put the card on the payment terminal and go like that. And most of our toll lanes are now equipped with that technology. So no problem. If you come from the US, you should be able to pay for your tolls with your credit card. And probably in the future, we will also try to develop something which has been very popular in other countries. I've been to Portugal this summer, and when you rent a car, they deliver it with the OBU, and you don't have to take care of anything. You go through fast lane, and it's easier.
All right, so we will be sure to come to France and tell all the American viewers it's easy to pay your toll in France. Yeah. Don't worry about it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about ASFA and your website. I was very intrigued by your website because it seems to have a very strong customer-facing orientation in which you're trying to provide information that's useful for the customers. Talk to us a little bit about that principle and your mission to serve the customers, the road users.
Yes, when you look at the highway network in France, it's primarily an interurban network. So we run the equivalent of the interstates in the US. And the large majority of French citizens will use our highways every year. We believe it's more than 85% of French citizens that are using at least once a year our highways. But most of them, they will do it only once or twice. So for them, that journey will be something unfamiliar, something important. And many of them will try to get information about it before getting started. And when you type autoroute, which is the word highway in French on the web browser, ASFA website will appear first. So that's a very powerful tool. Our internet address is actually autoroute.fr. So it's very easy to find our website. And our website is covering all the different networks that are operated in France. So it's the interoperability of the website somehow. So if you want to prepare your journey, you can come to our website. You type your city of origin, your city of destination, and we will tell you which kind of itinerary you should take, what toll you should be paying, and what services also you will find on your way, where you want to stop, what kind of services are available on every rest areas. So it's very easy to do that. And you will also have a provision of the kind of traffic you will encounter. So if you want to leave on a Saturday in July, you will have a lot of traffic on our highways, and we will tell you at which hour the traffic will start to decline, when you will find a fluid traffic, or when it will be congested.
That's fascinating. That's wonderful that you're providing that kind of information to the customers. And I gather that the ASFA website has more traffic perhaps than the traffic on your members' individual websites, yes?
That's true. Yeah, that might not be good news for the association, as we should not be shining instead of our members, but that's the truth. Yeah, and the thing is that the name of the website Autoroute is very well known in France, and that's a very powerful attractor to traffic, of course. Also, the fact that we are very legitimate to represent all the different networks, and people find that they know that they will find all the information needed on a single website. So that's very helpful to them. And also they know that we are not a commercial website. We don't try to sell them anything. So that gives them trust. And we try also to get them attracted through the different interaction we have with media, of course.
Great. Christophe, we have another question from our viewers. How has variable tolling evolved in France? Does the government have any plans to move towards a mileage-based user fee on all roads, not just highways? All right, so we have two questions here. Variable tolling, and I know you led a mission to the United States 3 years ago to look at express lanes in Virginia and Georgia. So you have a little bit to report on there. But then also mileage-based user fees or kilometer-based user fees. What are your thoughts about how that may play out?
Variable tolling is already a reality, but on a very limited part of the network. And I believe that this will spread out in the future. You know, this is a topic which is also under at the European level, and there is a European directive which is being modified right now that will allow tolls to be modified according to the emission of carbon of every vehicle. So we will see in the future, but I believe those systems will start to be more and more operational. And then for mileage-based tolling, it's something which will be very difficult, I believe. There are two things. First is that if you move to electric mobility, there will be a very difficult question to tackle, which is the gas tax. As you know, it's very high in France and in Europe. The gas tax is 10% of state budget in France, so it's quite a challenge. And if you move to electric car, of course, there is no gas tax anymore. And it's even worse than that because electric vehicles are heavily subsidized in France right now. So we are quite driving in a dead end. I believe tolling might be an answer to that, of course, but that will be very difficult to set up. One thing is that our concessions are mature and most of them will end up their contract in the 30s. So after that, there is a possibility to let some kind of tolling that could be used to fuel other needs. So that's the first option. Instead of paying for the infrastructure, which is basically which will be basically amortized at that time, you could use that revenue to fund other topics. The other thing is that if you want to get new taxes on the other networks, it will be very difficult. We have seen that the government has tried to create a new tax, a carbon tax that would have applied on gas. It would have been quite low, 2 centimes of euros per liter of oil. And that was what sparkled the Yellow Vest movement 2 years ago. And some of you may have known about that movement, but it was a very severe movement in France, riots in cities, some of them affecting our toll plazas. It turns out to be very, very sensitive. And I'm not sure that the elected officials are very likely to tackle that challenge right now. But they will have to one day or the other, because electric vehicles will force them to do something. At least in the Ministry of Finance, I'm sure that they look at that.
It's always a challenging issue to figure out the funding for the state and the motorways, especially with decarbonization and movement to electric vehicles. How do you account for that 10% of the national budget that is made up by the gas tax? So many challenges ahead, I believe.
Right, yeah.
Christophe, I'm going to make a couple of announcements and then I'll come back to you for some final words of wisdom. So don't forget to complete the survey you receive at the end of today's program. We always want to improve and and provide programming that's of interest to you. We have several upcoming events. On September 9th, IBTTA's book club, hosted by the Task Force on Diversity, Social, and Racial Inclusion, will focus on the book Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. Our annual meeting takes place in Anaheim, California, October 8th through 12th, and a reminder about the vaccine requirement for that meeting, and our next meeting, the Maintenance and Roadway Operations Workshop in Louisville, Kentucky, November 4 through 6. And don't forget to complete the survey at the end of today's program. So Christophe, what final words of wisdom do you have before we sign off today?
Well, since I just come back from vacation, I will just say that a very, very simple thing. I believe that it's always very important to take care of your family and your friends. And I do believe that if things are doing well in your life, then your professional achievements will be okay as well. So let's focus on what's really important, and then everything will follow.
Beautiful. What a great message. Christophe, thank you so much for being on the program today. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the support and partnership with you and ASFA. And to all the IBTTA members, be safe, keep in touch, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Au revoir.